Hello anime enthusiast, welcome to Animeverse. Today's video is about a young magician who accidentally summons a legendary and powerful female demon.
The story begins with Alto, a student at the Ordiger Royal Magic Academy. His instructor informs him that he has failed his summoning exam. Despite Alto acing the written exam, if he is unable to summon a familiar by tomorrow, he won't be able to advance to the second year. Alto tells his childhood friend, Lilia, and he resolves to try again. He heads to the library, where a book falls on his head. He picks up the old tome and jokes that it'd be nice if it were somehow a book on how to summon creatures. As luck would have it, it is exactly that. He copies the diagram, mixes in his own blood, and successfully summons a demon. Alto averts his eyes, which the demon finds cute. She offers to do anything he wants, and he asks her to become his familiar. The demon introduces herself as Vermeil, and in exchange for being his familiar, she sucks up some of his mana by kissing him. Alto orders her to get dressed, and she reluctantly puts some clothes on. Alto briefs Vermeil on his situation, and she explains that the reason why Alto couldn't summon a regular familiar is because of his unnaturally potent mana that only her kind could endure. The next day, Alto brings Vermeil to class, passing off as a human, as his familiar. The instructor passes him, even though he thinks this is incredibly sketchy. Lilia angrily protests Alto's new familiar. During class, Vermeil's overly affectionate behavior earns the ire of both the instructor and Lilia, but since the academy promotes close proximity between mages and familiars, she is allowed to do as she pleases. Lilia disrupts the class, and the instructor forces her to stand in the hallway. On the way home, Lilia demands to know who Vermeil really is. In a flashback, Vermeil suggested that she pose as a human so as not to attract unwanted attention. Alto maintains that Vermeil is his familiar, and in response, Lilia challenges him to a duel. The winner gets to order the loser to do whatever they want, which Lilia seems to have fantastical fantasies about. They head to the school's local arena, where their duel is broadcast around campus. She summons her familiar, Sylphide, a powerful wind spirit. It unleashes a strong tornado straight at Vermeil, but it simply blow-dries her hair. Vermeil defeats Lilia with a squeezing assault that every male student greatly appreciates. Lilia admits defeat, and Alto orders her to be friends with Vermeil. The two girls shake hands, but neither of them intends to be friendly. When they return to the dorms, Vermeil tells Alto that Lilia is clearly in love with him, but he says the two are just friends. She approaches and kisses him again for another helping of mana. He asks her why she needs to drain his mana, and she explains that being trapped in the magic tome has left her weak. Alto's magic is the only thing that allows her to have a physical form. She offers to explore other avenues to extract mana from him, such as sucking it directly from the source, but Alto says he's fine with kisses. Vermeil continues to attract undue attention, which isn't helped when she single-handedly defeats a rampaging dinosaur familiar. After the entrance ceremony, Lilia complains that Vermeil and Alto are standing out too much. Later, they attend two classes, one briefing them on the more familiar-centric curriculum, and the other about demon seals that keep their kind locked away in oblivion. Later, Rex, a member of the Dragon Riders, a club composed entirely of magicians with dragon familiars, confronts them. They joke that the Dragon Riders are just made up of braggarts. Rex seeks revenge against Vermeil, but while he isn't looking, Alto sneaks behind him and traps him using crystal magic. Alto and Vermeil's celebration is short-lived, as Rex frees himself by summoning his familiar, Tyrannosuk. Vermeil bestows Alto with the magic she absorbed the previous night, drastically empowering his magic. Alto's large crystals throw Tyrannosuk into the air. Rex surrenders, and he apologizes for picking on them. Later, Vermeil asks Alto what he wants to be, and he explains the ranking system for the nation's magicians. Only a handful of students ever make it to silver, and an even smaller amount hit gold. Alto dreams of being a platinum-ranked magician, the highest title bestowed only on elite magicians. Vermeil promises to help his dream come true, and she suddenly starts removing her dress. It's time for her routine magic feeding. The next day, a radiant Vermeil and a drained Alto trudge to class and meet Lilia. They run into Alto's self-proclaimed rival, Marx, and his maid, Cheryl. The instructor calls three of them into the principal's office, where they are informed that a batch representative will be chosen from among them. The principal tasks them with retrieving a rare fairy flower by 6. They head to a nearby forest, but Marx shows up uninvited. He summons his familiar, Francois, a beetle, to find the fairy flower, but he is quickly eaten by a carnivorous plant. Cheryl stays behind to free him. Alto, Vermeil, and Lilia spot the fairy flower, guarded by a Cerberus. Lilia has an invisibility potion prepared, but Alto points out that the Cerberus might sniff her out. She observes that the lone active head has the sniffles, so she drinks her invisibility potion. Since it leaves her clothes visible, she is forced to strip before stepping out. Meanwhile, Alto asks if Vermeil can give him a magic boost again, but she says that he won't need it against Cerberus. However, she still needs mana, so she removes his shirt and sucks him dry again. Lilia draws closer, but she is discovered when one of Cerberus' sleeping heads is revealed to have a clear nose. Fortunately, Alto and Vermeil come to her rescue. They distract it long enough for Lilia to retrieve the fairy flower. She gives it to Alto as thanks, but her potion wears off, prompting her to toss it in embarrassment. It drifts along with the wind, and it lands near Cheryl just as the clock strikes 6. Alto and Lilia allow Cheryl to keep the flower, and Mark celebrates. Lilia tells Alto she won't lose next time, and he returns her enthusiasm. While walking to school, Alto realizes that he knows very little about Vermeil. Suddenly, dragon riders streak across the sky, led by Chris. Later, Marx tells them that Chris is the founder of the Dragon Riders, a gold-ranked magician, and an executive member of the student council. Of the 7 gold-ranked magicians in the school, 5 are in the student council. In the locker rooms, Lilia shares with Cheryl her suspicions that Vermeil is hiding something, and she swears to get to the bottom of this. Cheryl teases that she cares quite a lot about Alto. Meanwhile, Vermeil waltzes into the men's changing room, and a mortified Alto drags her out. They reunite with Lilia, who chastises Vermeil for her indecent behavior. They notice a commotion nearby. The student council approaches. They are composed of Shinoji, the vice president, Alan, a collar-bound punk, Chris, the dragon rider, Jessica, the secretary, and Alina, the president. As they pass by, Chris and Vermeil exchange glances. Later, Vermeil attacks Alto in the showers, and she encourages him to use her to attain his dream of becoming a platinum-ranked magician. Meanwhile, Chris brutally punishes Rex for losing a duel against an underclassman. She orders him to lick her boots clean and offers to let him rejoin the Dragon Riders if he does chores as punishment. However, Rex remarks that Vermeil was right about them being braggarts, and he quits. In response, she brutally kicks him and sets her sights on Alto. The next day, Alto visits Rex in the infirmary. Rex refuses to disclose what happened, but he asks Alto what he thinks about dinosaurs. Alto replies that they are scary, but cool. Rex smiles, and he tells him that what happened wasn't his fault. Alto realizes that Chris is responsible for Rex's injuries, and despite Lilia's misgivings, he challenges Chris to a duel. Chris lauds him for his bravery, and she intends to beat into him the need to respect authority. She summons her familiar, Whirlwind, a winged dragon. Vermeil kisses Alto, and Chris takes an interest in their golden mana. Rex's friend rushes in and informs him what Alto is doing. Chris fires a fireball at Vermeil, lightly burning her. However, she turns up the heat, and Vermeil begins taking damage. Alto attempts to fight back with his crystal shards, but they are blown away. Alto and Vermeil unleash a powerful crystal wave, but Chris mounts Whirlwind to escape. She explains her philosophy behind dragons and how it allows her to literally look down on others as insects. She begins raining fireballs on them with impunity. Shinoji gets up, remarking that the battle is over, but Alan keeps watching. Alto begins gathering mana for an all-out attack, while Chris belittles Rex's dinosaur. He opposes her ideals, and she invites him to prove it by defeating her. Chris is astonished that they still have magic left in the tank. However, between her flames and Alto's crystals, there can only be one winner. Chris's flames and Alto's crystals collide, and for a moment, they disappear. Meanwhile, Rex refuses to watch the fight, believing that Chris is unbeatable. However, Alto and Vermeil, using shattered crystals as stepping stones, sneak behind Chris and defeat her. Alto becomes popular overnight, and Lilia becomes irritated by his new female fans. Obsidian, an equally popular professor, lectures Alto for recklessly dueling Chris, but Alto insists that the duel was important. Later, Rex returns to the Dragon Riders and sees Chris doing chores as a self-imposed punishment. She apologizes to Rex, but he grabs the broom and starts sweeping. He remarks that they're both starting from the bottom up, and Chris smiles. Later, after another kissing session, Alto tells Vermeil that kissing is only done with someone you love. She whispers into his ear, "I love you," so he lets her continue. That evening did not end with a kiss. The next day, Alto wonders if Vermeil meant it when she said, "I love you," so he asks Obsidian if it is possible for demons to love humans. He replies that human-demon relations are possible, but most demons, especially succubi and incubi, are only in it for their victims' mana. Alto acts distantly during dinner. He accuses Vermeil of only staying for his mana, and she explains that she needs mana to survive. To prove her love is real, she kisses him without taking his mana. She invites him to do the same, but he pushes her out of embarrassment. The next day, Alto thanks Obsidian for his help, and Obsidian leaves him with a few words of love advice, joking that certain women can be feisty demons. Later that afternoon, a student named Emma enters Obsidian's office. They profess their love for one another, but Obsidian is concealing an ominous syringe. The next day, Emma, now in a coma, is discovered in her frozen room. This is the fourth incident this month alone, and the student council, especially Alina, is troubled by this news. Shinoji has little to go on, but Jessica, obsessed with Alina's mental well-being, intimidates him into investigating. Later, Alto measures Vermeil's height due to an assignment to get to know his familiar better. He was encouraged to go as in-depth as possible, which makes Vermeil happy. She removes her clothes so that Alto can get a more accurate measurement, which Sylphide reports back to Lilia, who is spying on them. She hands all her clothes to Cheryl, drinks her invisibility potion, and sneaks into the boys' dorm to expose Vermeil. Alto finishes measuring Vermeil, and she reverts to her more human form. Her horns and tail disappear just as Lilia sneaks in. Alto retrieves some books from his shelf, inadvertently poking Lilia's chest. The experience leaves her dazed. Vermeil praises Alto's rapid improvement in his victory over Chris. However, he suspects that Chris was holding back during their duel, and he fears that if she had gone all out from the start, they would have lost. Meanwhile, Chris and Whirlwind are handily defeated by Rex and Tyrannosuk, who appear to have gone berserk. In a flashback, Rex first summoned his familiar as a giant egg, which he believed would hatch into a dragon. Chris took a keen interest in Rex's egg, and the two became friends. Back in the present, Vermeil and Alto go around buying groceries. When he refuses to buy her dessert, she sulks. He eventually relents, and Vermeil kisses Alto in public. Suddenly, Rex's friend arrives and begs them to help Rex. Rex taunts the helpless Chris. She fires a volley of fireballs, but a hardened exterior shields him from the heat. He kicks Chris in the stomach, forcing her to cough out blood. Frustrated that she won't fight back, Rex repeatedly kicks her, and she begs him to stop. Alto and Vermeil arrive just in time. Alto rushes to Chris's side, while Rex summons an armored Tyrannosuk. Vermeil senses something amiss within Rex's mana. Suddenly, Alina appears. Using her familiar, a living sword, she cuts down both Tyrannosuk and Rex. Alina chastises Chris for losing against a weak opponent. Rex stumbles to his feet and tries to fight again, but he collapses from his injuries. Chris staggers to his side, and Alina asks Vermeil if she has any idea what caused Rex to go berserk. Vermeil feigns ignorance. A few days pass, and as Rex recovers in the infirmary, the student council discusses the incident. They conclude someone is behind these sudden outbreaks, but Chris suddenly storms out. Shinoji remarks that Chris likes being rough with her toys but hates it when someone else touches what is hers. Meanwhile, Alto and Lilia talk about the upcoming bronze promotion exam, but Vermeil oddly leaves to rest at the dorms. Lilia takes this chance to invite him back to her room. Vermeil knows that Obsidian is the culprit, and she advises him to stop. She doesn't plan on reporting him, but she threatens to rip every fiber of his being if he ever lays a hand on Alto. A shaken Obsidian senses that Vermeil is the real deal. However, Vermeil lets her guard down, and Obsidian manages to inject her with a syringe. While Alto and Lilia try to study, his hand suddenly glows, and they hear a loud explosion. Across the school, notable magicians sense an unbelievable amount of mana. Alina rushes to the mana's source, but en route, she cuts down a small paper doll that reforms into a larger body. Her main goal is to keep Alina bogged down. Meanwhile, Obsidian beholds Vermeil's full might. A shockwave created by her arm is all that it takes to unearth the ground. He forms a blob of darkness in his hand, while Alto races to Vermeil. Alto arrives and watches in horror as Vermeil becomes a raging tide. They ask Obsidian what is going on, and Obsidian shows Alto a chain he is using to keep Vermeil obedient. He reveals that he was the true mastermind all along. He explains that he developed a compound that causes magic to run amok, but it took him 5 test subjects to perfect it. Now, his compound can bind even the will of a demon. However, Vermeil snaps the chain, proving her will is stronger than his. She lunges at Obsidian, but Alto's body moves on its own, and he is mortally wounded. Buried within Vermeil's out-of-control mind, her consciousness feels like it is being submerged. She thought she liked solitude, but Alto's warmth proved otherwise. When Vermeil realizes what she has done, her heart is stricken with grief, which quickly transforms into unbridled fury. She tries to murder Obsidian, but Alto manages to move and calm her down. He reminds her that he is her master and reassures her that everything will be okay. His body slumps to the ground, and Lilia fears he is dead. But Vermeil won't let death take him yet. She kisses him, transferring what mana she has left to heal his gaping wound. Miraculously, his condition stabilizes. However, Obsidian cannot accept what has happened. He injects himself with a syringe, transforming into a demon hybrid using the essence of slain lesser demons. He attacks a weakened Vermeil, but she effortlessly blows away half his body. A frightened Obsidian escapes into the sky, but Chris stops him and sends him reeling into his body, which disintegrates. Vermeil chooses not to kill Obsidian, out of respect for Alto's wishes. Lilia rushes to Alto's side, who wakes up moments later. Meanwhile, Obsidian's co-conspirator fades away, having succeeded in delaying Alina. Later, Alto thanks Vermeil for healing him, but it wasn't as simple as that. She explains that her heart is inside his chest. If he were to die, then she would die, and vice versa. A horrified Alto realizes that Vermeil sacrificed her immortality. In the aftermath, Obsidian is arrested, while the various victims awaken from their comas. Alto now requires kisses to maintain his new heart. However, Vermeil is cold and distant. Alto confronts her, and she explains that she deems herself too dangerous to live around him. She plans to recluse herself inside another book once his new heart stabilizes, but Alto doesn't want that. In a complete twist, Alto kisses Vermeil without taking her mana, and he tells her that he needs her by her side, now and always. He runs out in embarrassment, and Vermeil realizes the implications of his kiss. Vermeil is flustered by Alto's indirect declaration of love. In the aftermath of Obsidian's arrest, the girls mourn their loss, while the boys mourn Vermeil not being here. Alto explains that she wants alone time for now. Meanwhile, Lilia, who now knows that Vermeil is a demon, meets her by the sea. Vermeil is apologetic for being a demon, but Lilia tells her it is silly to be hung up on such a thing. She tells her that being a demon or god isn't what matters is if you're good or bad. Lilia emphasizes that she needs to trust Alto more, because he'll come to her rescue when the time comes, no matter what. Sylphide comforts Vermeil, and she remarks that Lilia is actually a decent person. Alto arrives home, and Vermeil comes soon after. She expresses her desire to remain by his side despite everything that's happened, and Alto is overjoyed. He promises to be a better master to her, and she kisses him. She asks him to kiss her back, and he does so without hesitation. The next morning, Vermeil has trouble fitting into her uniform, a problem that Alto can't fix right now. For now, they head to class together as master and familiar. Meanwhile, two magicians receive news from Kohakumiya, the paper doll master, about Obsidian's arrest. They expected as much from a half-rate magician. An acolyte tries to avenge his fallen comrades, but he is knocked away by a centaur familiar's lance. The two magicians are revealed to be the platinum-ranked Helioder and Iolite. Alto and Vermeil arrive at school, and his classmates are overjoyed to see her again. He had forgotten that the bronze promotion exams are right around the corner. Vermeil and Alto sneak a kiss in a concealed area. Alto pushes her away, but Vermeil asks for one more. As usual, it did not end with a kiss. When they return to class, the student council comes knocking and searches for Alto. He is taken into custody and brought to the council room. Alina apologizes for allowing him to be injured during the recent incident, and she informs him that Obsidian has escaped from prison. She has one question for him: what are you hiding? In the blink of an eye, Jessica places her sword to his throat, while Shinoji threatens to kill Vermeil. Under threat of death, Alto has no choice but to admit that Vermeil is a demon. The council is shocked. Alto explains how their hearts are now intertwined, but he defends Vermeil's actions. He is fully prepared to be expelled, but Alina reassures him that they won't tell the faculty, and they can continue doing as they please. Alina decides she can make use of a demon. Jessica protests, but Shinoji reasons that since the Obsidian incident, they cannot trust any teachers. Alina then extends an invitation for Alto to join the student council. Alina explains that Alto's recent feats in defeating Chris and Obsidian have earned him a place among the council. If he can guarantee that his demon familiar won't be a problem, then she sees no issue with him joining. Alto shares the good news with Lilia, Cheryl, and Marx. They celebrate the occasion, and Marx in particular is overjoyed that a second year is on the council. Lilia smiles and swears that she'll get a higher score than him at the bronze promotion exam. Later, Alto feels bad that Vermeil's secret is out, but she reassures him that she doesn't care that the council knows, though she warns him to be careful around Alina. Regardless, he feels that, had he been stronger, he could have kept her secret. Vermeil begins undressing Alto so that he can become stronger, and she aggressively pins him onto the bed. After doing the deed, a violated Alto swears to become stronger. Meanwhile, Alina has an epiphany regarding Vermeil, and she cuts off the head of a statue. The next day, Alto prepares for his first day at the student council, but he unfortunately walks into Chris, Alina, and Jessica changing. Jessica wants his head chopped off, but Alina says she's being a prude. Alina begins the meeting, and she shows them a sample of the paper golem she defeated. Chris uses her appraisal magic, but the magical circuit is so complex that it isn't recorded on any magical database. Even their gold-ranked magical research specialists were unable to decipher it. Alina concludes that their opponents are platinum-ranked magicians. Meanwhile, Iolite and Helioder meet with Kohakumiya to discuss the materials he brought back for her. Kohakumiya asks how he was able to convince the fearsome platinum-ranked Hisful, leader of the priest order, to agree to hand it over, and Iolite bluntly replies that he killed him. A shocked Kohakumiya watches as the pair leave, and Iolite flashes a pair of photographs depicting Alto and Vermeil. That evening, Alto has a dream about a crying girl. A woman says he has two choices regarding this girl: to save humanity, or to cater to her whims. He realizes that the girl is Vermeil. He wakes up, and, anxious about the exam, he begins studying. Vermeil catches him awake and wonders why he's so worried. Half the students in his batch are expected to pass. He explains that a great deal of pressure was placed on him by the student council, especially Chris, who won't accept him if he fails. Vermeil pushes Alto onto the bed so they can prepare for the practical part of the exam. The next day, Alto packs his things, and he gets nostalgic upon seeing Vermeil's dusty old tome. He wonders what kind of mage sealed Vermeil away in the first place. He joins his friends in heading to the exam venue, where they are joined by other magicians from across the country. Their bright-colored ortega uniforms attract attention. When they arrive at the venue, Cheryl's eyes pop when she sees their proctor, Pharynx, commander of their country's special operations. Pharynx explains the first part of their exam, which will have them fill a crystal, and the flame within with their mana. The other examinees think this is easy enough, but Alto knows that it can't be that simple. The first student struggles to fan the flames, as do the others. When it is Lilia's turn, she keenly points out the mistakes of the other magicians. They were filling the crystal with mana, not the flame itself. She places her hands on the crystal, and with Sylphide's help, she funnels mana directly into the flame, causing it to flare up. A student from another school saunters forward and replicates her success. Cheryl and Marks also pass, although the latter only does so barely. Eventually, it is Alto's turn. Many heckle him for going with his mother, but Pharynx explains that Vermeil is a human familiar. Alto carefully inspects the crystal and discovers a magic circuit running through into the flame. Pharynx remarks that Alto is the only examinee to uncover the true nature of the exam, which is to test their understanding of magic circuits. The difficulty of growing the flame depends on where they supply the mana from, and Alto senses that it is easiest from the back. However, Vermeil tells him that he's in the wrong spot. Alto intentionally goes to the most difficult spot, and he blasts the flame with his mana, causing it to turn from red to silver. The proctors are astonished, and Vermeil encourages Alto to scare them. He gives it all he has, inadvertently causing the crystal to shatter. He fears that he has failed, but Pharynx tells him he passed. His attendant fears the crystal is defective, but Pharynx assures her that this isn't the case. It would be impossible for a gold-ranked magician to shatter the crystal, while a platinum-ranked magician would find it nearly impossible to do so. Afterwards, Alto and his friends have a picnic to celebrate passing the first hurdle. Marks boasts that he has a secret weapon to help him pass the exam, a six-sided pencil. They discuss the possibility of getting a perfect score, and Cheryl shares a rumor about how only a single student ever managed the feat. Alto is getting nervous, but Lilia encourages him to take things one step at a time. They hype themselves up for the exam to come. Vermeil gives Alto a little good luck kiss before the exam starts, but it almost goes further than that. On the way, they pass by the student who tried to show up Lilia. The student loathes Ortigan students, believing that he is being looked down on. However, Iolite murders him in the bathroom and steals his exam slip. Elsewhere, after Jessica and Alina duel, they take a shower. They discuss recent events, and Jessica takes a keen interest in Alto. She asks why he would allow a demon to give him her heart, and Alina remarks that it was out of love. Alto barely makes it on time to the exam because of Vermeil. Since familiars are not allowed in the exam room, she leaves to kill some time. But she cheers him on. Alto takes his seat, and Iolite sits next to him. Vermeil overhears some proctors talking about how difficult the written exam is, but she has full faith in her master. Alto skims through the questions and sees he won't have any trouble, but to his surprise, Iolite is taking a nap. Alto notices that several questions are for silver-ranked magicians, a testament to how difficult it is. However, Iolite wakes up, answers the questions in seconds, and begins disrupting the exam room. The proctor, Mackenzie, calls for order, but he receives news that a student was found murdered. When Mackenzie realizes the deception, Iolite summons his Rook Golem, destroying much of the exam room. While the students evacuate, Mackenzie tries to take Iolite into custody, but his leg is crushed by the Rook Golem. Fortunately, Pharynx destroys a large chunk of the golem and rescues Mackenzie, while Vermeil rushes in and pounds it with her magic. Pharynx tells Alto that they face Iolite, the Heaven's Will, the youngest mage ever promoted to Platinum. He is a prodigy whose magic is rumored to be from God himself. Lilia tries to force her way through, but the proctors forcibly extract her. Pharynx notices that Iolite isn't taking any hostages, but he remarks that he doesn't need to. He forms a staff from thin air, which he uses to form a pair of cannons on his Rook Golem. Iolite dares them to stop him. Lilia is brought outside, where several reinforcements arrive. She forces her way through anyway, but she and the others find themselves looping back outside. They realize that large-scale transference magic has been placed over the entire school, unaware that it is Helioder's handiwork. Meanwhile, Alto, Pharynx, and Vermeil struggle against Iolite, who seems impossibly powerful. To make matters worse, he keeps adding more and more cannons, and they soon realize the futility of their endeavor. Alto clads himself in silver magic in response to the crisis, but one of Iolite's night golems pierces his shirt. Alto demands to know what Iolite is up to, and he reveals that his group is gathering demons as fuel to destroy the world. Alto crushes the lance and attacks Iolite, but he is easily thrown to the ground. Vermeil unleashes her true demonic form in desperation, but Iolite subdues her with magical chains and locks away her consciousness with a key. Alto desperately continues to resist, but Iolite tires of him, and he prepares to kill him once and for all. However, a strange magic deflects the bolt meant for Alto, and Vermeil's tome unravels, and from it emerges the Mage of Beginnings, the first person to ever tap into what they call magic. She explains that long ago, Vermeil requested to be sealed away, and she simply assisted her in the process. Vermeil is currently sealed away by her emotions and memories, so the Mage of Beginnings asks if Alto is prepared to face Vermeil for who she is. Alto resolves to face this trial. Iolite tries to eliminate them, but the Mage of Beginnings transports herself and Alto into Vermeil's mind, where time and space have no power. She explains that they are 550 years in the past, when Ordija was simply the name of a city. Alto looks down, and he spots Vermeil as a child. Vermeil happily runs over to his sister and gives her a flower crown. The other orphans run over and join them, and the Mage of Beginnings explains that, though not related by blood, this was Vermeil's family. She explains that Vermeil happily lived with her older sister, Miel, and her two younger siblings, Lynn and Kate. Without a doubt, these were the happiest times of her life. Only the sister knew that Vermeil was a demon, though she comforted her by saying she was innocent and kind. In the past, demons were more feared than they were in the present, and these good times were not meant to last. When a few neighborhood kids discovered her horns, they began stoning her on sight. When Miel discovered Vermeil's horns, she embraced her as a sister, and she promised to always be by her side. Eventually, the problems worsened. The rumors spread to a nearby town, and villagers would routinely throw rocks at their orphanage. When a plague struck the town, they blamed Vermeil and demanded that they come out. Inside, a terrified Vermeil considers handing herself over, but Miel refuses to let her. She instructs Vermeil to run out of town as fast as possible, but she will remain here to face the crowd with her siblings. They exchange a heartfelt goodbye, and Vermeil escapes through town. However, while evading the angry mob, she had a change of heart, and she decided to return to save her family. To her horror, she discovered that the angry mob had hung her entire family to death. Overcome by grief and anger, she unleashed the full might of her demonic powers for the first time, leveling the entire city and causing thousands of innocents to die. The Mage of Beginnings explains that it would be 200 years until Vermeil would be sealed, and during this period, she would be known as the Scourge of mankind. Alto lowers himself to the ground to comfort the weeping Vermeil, who blames herself for everything that happened. She fears that she will never be loved again, but Alto reassures her that he and her family love her very much. He doesn't care that she committed genocide. He promises to be by her side forever, and the two share a kiss. The emotional chains over her are broken, and they return to the real world. Alto says that he loves her and promises that she'll never be alone again. Iolite is genuinely surprised they broke out of his mind prison, but he looks forward to their climactic battle. With a snap of his fingers, he arms his night golem with even stronger armor and a pair of cannons. He remarks that, since Alto managed to break through the chains, he must know all about what kind of atrocities demonkind are capable of. That's why they're gathering their power and plan to destroy the world themselves. Alto doesn't care about Vermeil being a demon, as far as he's concerned. She's just a regular girl who likes sweets and deeply regrets the things she's done. Iolite invites them to try and stop him. As his night golem unleashes its magical orb, Vermeil and Alto pool their magic together to unleash a wave of crystals that power through both the orb and the night golem itself. Iolite realizes he'll have to get serious. Alto and Vermeil brace themselves for the fight to come, but Heliodor suddenly enters and orders Iolite to retreat. The fight has dragged on for long enough, and further conflict is pointless. Iolite reluctantly agrees, though he tells Alto that they'll continue their fight some other time. The Mage of Beginnings, whose name is revealed to be Fatima, suddenly appears behind them. She is glad to have entrusted Vermeil over to Alto, and she asks him if he is prepared for the whole world to turn against him. Alto promises to stand by Vermeil. Fatima leaves, and she tells Vermeil she has nothing to worry about with Alto by her side. Fatima fades into the ether, and using the remnants of her magic, she completely repairs the school. A few days later, Alto duels against Jessica and loses. Soon after, Chris, clad in her fighting gear, trains Alto in close quarters combat. She admits losing to him in terms of magical ability, but he lacks training, strength, tactics, and experience. She sticks her finger in his mouth and nearly blasts his head off. Alto thanks them for their help, and he asks that they continue training him going forward. They ask why he wants to train so badly, and he explains that he wants to get stronger so he can protect Vermeil with his own strength. Jessica and Chris respect that. Later that evening, Alto surprisingly takes the lead against a much meeker Vermeil. She complains of a throbbing in her chest, and Alto personally inspects it. That evening, Vermeil thanks Alto for accepting her for not just who she is but for what she was. They profess their love for each other one more time, and they go for round 2. The next morning, they attend a meeting with the student council. The recent incidents have damaged their fine institution's reputation, and Alina intends to deal with them. The others concur, and they all have their own reasons for fighting. Alina asks Alto if he is prepared to battle platinum-ranked magicians, and he says that he is for Vermeil's sake. Meanwhile, Lilia, Cheryl, and Mark celebrate their successful clearing of the bronze promotion exam. She realizes that Alto is missing, and that Vermeil has likely snatched him away again. Elsewhere, Vermeil kisses Alto against a wall, and she throws him on the ground to continue. She plants another kiss to celebrate their forever after. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. And turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on another video. See you in next video. Until then, take care.